we're gonna summarize our learning experience here. It says maybe that could be good. Kind of like a
I have the thing pulled up,
Yeah,
the lab pulled up personally, and then I have the work that I did over here.
yeah, I have my prompts as well. And yeah. All right.
so do we want to, we're not limited to these discussions, but do we want to start with the first one, possibly the first prompt?
Yeah, let's just go prompt by prompt and go from there.
Okay,
Yeah.
so prompt one, what was the hardest or most unclear learning objective from this lab? Um, would anybody like to go first, possibly?
I would say, yeah, I don't mind going first. It didn't feel particularly hard in any way. I think the hardest part that I ended up did having a little bit of an issue with was problem 4A, just kind of like getting it to work on Desmos because I haven't needed it for the last few classes I've taken. So just like, plotting everything and using Desmos to like plot it all out. I mean, once I got it down, it was easy, but it just take me some time to like YouTube it. And I was at the Learning Commons and no one there could help me. So I just had to like, figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah, and for me, that was pretty much the exact same problem. Problem five for me was just kind of like I had to think back a little bit, because I wasn't exactly sure on the average velocity, but then I ended up figuring out that pretty easily. I just, probably one of the only sections besides Desmos that I didn't understand as clearly.
It's same. It wasn't too like difficult or anything. Same with like the Desmos. I'm not really in tune with how to use it that well. And with like number five, I kind of understood it, but in the sense I was thinking of it more as like physics. So I couldn't really think about it. I had to think about it a little bit more. Because I know in physics it's like displacement over time. So it's like similar, but in
Yeah.
calculus, they apply it differently.
Mhm. Yeah, I would say problem five was probably the one that it was the hardest in a way because all the other ones for me it was I kind of got the gist of finding the slope of the tangent line. But when I got to five, it was almost like I guess I was gonna say philosophical in a way or something because I guess I'd be just like learning about calculus. I don't know. I guess it's a new subject for me, and I don't know if I was really right, but I put to divide the difference of the output values by the difference of the input values. Is, could anybody possibly confirm if that's like kind of along the lines of the answer to number five? Because I'm not sure if I got
Um,
it right.
so uh, yes and no. So like what you're doing with number five is the same thing you were doing with all the other secant lines. So it's a secant line, you find a point where the car was driving at a specific speed and so at a specific speed and a specific place, and you look a little bit further ahead of where the car is going to, and then you just keep going back until you get that the slope of how fast it was going to the next point, and you just keep making that point smaller and smaller. Same thing we were doing with the other equations. It's funny that this question was asked because it's like the first question they go over in physics. It's one of the
Wow.
first questions they go over. That's why I was like, oh, it's pretty. If you've taken if you've taken any physics, you'll recognize the question pretty quickly.
Oh, I think that's where like this is appears really new to me. I actually haven't taken a physics class, so to be approached with a question like this, um, I guess I've been programming for about a year now, and I feel like my answer, divide the difference of the output values by the difference of the input values, is just maybe more a little along that sort of train of thought where I'm coming from. But it's interesting you bring up physics. I'm getting ready to take physics, I think in fall, but I've never taken physics before, so
Uh, I've watched some videos. I haven't actually taken a class yet. I'm waiting till to take
It's
physics as Calc 1.
difficult. It's pretty interesting, I believe.
so in a way, was that the easiest or most familiar learning objective for you from this lab?
For me, no, I thought just getting the slopes was the easiest thing. I mean, you just
Yeah.
kept calculating the slope. I was like, oh, that's easy.
Yeah, it was cool. Go ahead.
Sorry, it's like the closer you get, like it's kind of like evident about what it is anyway,
Yeah.
graphing it.
Yeah. I really like the way you put it when you were talking about the car and looking ahead. That was just like I've never heard it explained like that. So thank you for putting it that way, sharing
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I can send you the video that I'm like thinking of that comes right to mind. It's on Khan Academy. It's like one of their first videos that talks about velocity in physics. Like it's like one of the very first things they go over. But I mean, all calculus is basically physics.
Is there anything else that we might need to cover for this discussion? Does anybody have any questions or anything they'd like to add, possibly? Or
This one
Not
was
exactly.
well, it's kind of like I think the beginning of like slope and tangent lines isn't too bad.
yeah,
Finding what is it? The equation for it too. It's just like you can I don't know if it's the correct way, but I just like derived the original and then plugged it in. Like and then you can find it that way too.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
You basically take the original and then change it based on what the slope is. Because it'll be you got to start from the same place, but then you also got to put the slope in.
So, all right. I mean, the last prompt says, what do you wonder about the lab concept still? So,
For this one, not particularly much. I mean, we're just going over slopes and then applying them to how secant and tangent lines are formed. So,
Yeah.
to be honest, not terribly much at all. You guys?
yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I'm just hold on. I think I'm looking forward to learning to use this with limits. I was reading a little bit about the tangent problem and the velocity problem, and they introduce it to us like this at the beginning. Right now in 2.1, and then in the next section they talk about how they're going to come back to this problem later on after introducing us to some stuff with like limits and other things. I'm just kind of looking forward to all that, like kind of Hakeem was saying. So I think the wonder is more like excitement. So I don't know.
Yeah. I am excited as well. There's a bunch of thoughts that came into my mind and then they all vanished all at once.
No, I feel that.
I'm looking forward to these discussions. I think this is a good idea that the professor had. Because it's really cool getting to hear y'all's perspectives. I don't know very much. I'm just starting to get into this, so I appreciate it. Thank you
Yeah,
guys
same here.
for being here.
Thank you.